So in 1927, the Supreme Court was asked to decide a simple question. Should Virginia be allowed to sterilize Carrie Buck, a 20-year-old inmate of the state colony for epileptics and feeble-minded, who had falsely been declared to be feeble-minded? In an 8-1 decision written by Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, the court ruled that no part of the Constitution, not equal protection, not due process, not the right to bodily integrity, protected Carrie Buck from being sterilized against her will. Plenty terrible, but the court did even more. It also strongly endorsed the eugenics movement and issued a clarion call to the nation to sterilize more unfit people. Justice Holmes wrote that the nation had to sterilize those who sapped the strength of the state to prevent our being swamped with incompetence. In words that could have been torn from the pages of a eugenics pamphlet, Holmes declared, "It is better for all the world if, instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind." Then Holmes went on to include in the decision one of the most brutal aphorisms in American jurisprudence. Holmes, the Harvard-educated scion of several of Boston's finest families, said of Carrie Buck, her mother, and her young daughter, "3 generations of imbeciles are enough." When legal scholars rank the Supreme Court's worst decisions, the competition is considerable. There was the Dred Scott case, in which the court ruled that an enslaved man had no right to sue in court for his freedom. There was Plessy versus Ferguson, in which the court upheld Louisiana's law segregating railroad cars by race. And there was Korematsu versus the United States, in which the court upheld the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. There will always be differences of opinions over which of these rulings should be on a list of the worst decisions and how they should be ranked, but there can be no doubt that Buck v. Bell must have a prominent place. In its aftermath, not only was Carrie Buck sterilized against her will, but in the end as many as 70,000 Americans were sterilized. Many of the victims were, like Carrie, perfectly normal, both mentally and physically, and they desperately wanted to have children. Buck v. Bell's reach extended beyond the United States. The Nazi Party, which was on the rise in Germany, used America as a model for its own eugenic sterilization program. The Supreme Court's ruling influenced Germany's genetic health courts, which ordered some 375,000 eugenic sterilizations. In fact, at the Nuremberg trials at the end of World War II, Nazis responsible for the sterilizations cited Buck versus Bell in their defense.